I played almost 10 hours of Crimson Desert throughout the multiple preview events at TwitchCon, I played at Gamescom, and most recently during the private event where I played 6 hours of a brand new version. And I made videos on those, and I asked you to leave comments under those videos with questions that you still have. And right now, I want to answer as many of these questions as I can. Let's start with the skill system and progression. I saw quite a lot of questions about that. So I said in my preview that I think the skill system in Crimson Desert might be one of the best I've ever seen, because almost every unlock is a completely new move. They basically all have a small video that shows you what the new move is that you unlock. So we have Luck Runs Out 77 asks, can you respec? And yes, you can. So by killing enemies, and there are other ways as well, you get Abyss artifacts. And you can spend those on skills to immediately unlock them. And while it is a skill tree, you don't have to like get the connecting skills most of the times. So you can just immediately unlock the one you want. At the start of chapter 2, I got a faded Abyss artifact. And with that, you can in the skill menu reset all stats. And then basically reset all the Abyss artifacts you spent. So you get them back. But if you got a skill through observing an NPC or enemy, those will be learned forever. So obviously you did not spend an Abyss artifact, you will then also not get one back. But we obviously have to see how many of these faded Abyss artifacts there are in the game. So if respecking is something you can do often, but it is at least possible. Agent asks if you can eventually unlock all the skills. And I think you can, although it's not 100% confirmed. But you have this bar next to your minimap. And if that fails, you get a Abyss artifact from killing enemies. So instead of there being XP where you level up, you by killing enemies in the world, you fill this bar, and then when it's full, you get an Abyss artifact. And that seems unlimited. So as long as you just kill enemies in the open world, I think they respawn as well. You can just keep farming the Abyss artifacts and probably unlock all the skills. We have Zillion Carrot asking, do armor and weapons give different stats? And yes, they do, although they of course said that Crimson Desert is not really an RPG. And you kind of see that here as well. So there are stats, but yeah, there's not a lot on these items. I think the attack stat in particular is very interesting. So during the preview event, we also got to try a higher level save. And I wrote it down, like the weapons there had 24 attack, while the weapon I got to buy in the first camp had 13 attack. That's only a difference of 11 attack. Now, I think this could mean two things. It's that items don't really impact the gameplay that much, or that one attack is way more than in many other games where the max attack would be 100. If the max attack in this game is 30, I'm just saying something random, then obviously every point towards your attack is a significant increase. But I have to test this. I don't know if that's actually how it works. What is interesting is that there are also necklaces and rings, and they only give like one extra attack or 1+ for a stat. And if that means nothing, then those items are kind of useless. So I would argue that even one attack increase is already pretty significant. Let's go over some questions for the gameplay systems. Donny Hamby asks if stealth is possible, and that does not really seem to be the case. So you can sneak and assassinate an enemy. That is where what the dagger is for. So during my few hours that I played during the preview session, that meant that I could like insta-kill all enemies, but I would not be surprised if later in the game you need a stronger dagger to instantly take out enemies. But almost always when I did this, the enemies would immediately be alerted. So it was just a way to quickly take out one or multiple enemies and then continue. Ricardo is asking if the bounty system is infinite, and that does not seem to be the case. So when you pick up a bounty, you scan it, and then you can go after the target, and then you put that person behind bars, and the quest, I think, is completed and disappears. So I really think there's so much content in this game that it will take a really long time to complete everything. But it does not seem to be the case that you can go after these criminals like endlessly, at least from what I saw. Can you name your horse? Says GPA Haver. No, I don't think so. So you get your horse early on, and then you can like call them by doing up on the D-pad. And other mounts will appear here as well as you get further into the game. Sager is asking, is there naval gameplay? We've not seen it. I don't think so. Like, I was swimming, and I was like dying really quickly, so it costs stamina to swim, and when that stamina is empty, you like take damage over time. So I would be shocked if there's like naval combat or anything. You can swim, but that seems to be everything you can do in the water. But maybe that will change. Max Roxy is asking, can you remove the shield from your back? Trust me, I tried. I was not able to do it. So hopefully in the full game, like I really think, my prediction is one of the first updates will make people do it. I tried it in the sort of weapon wheel, and for some like armors you can just like basically like remove that armor, so you will still have your sort of default shirt on and stuff. But for shield, I was not able to change that. David Foreman, did the cities and world feel lively? I already said that in my preview, but I did not really think so. Most of the NPCs are standing around. It really reminds me of MMORPGs, and of course this game started as an MMO, and the previous game from Pearl Abyss is Black Desert Online, which is an MMO. So there are certainly some enemies like NPCs walking around, but many of them are just standing still. And Cheese Invader, what do NPCs do at night? Still stand still. Like, I also said that in my video, there was a kid on the street. Like, I saw some people ask, are there, like, full day cycles? No, that's not the case. The enemies, I think, or the NPCs, I think, always, like, just stand in their location, or some will walk around. So, it will have a feeling that it's kind of lively, but if you take a closer look, it's not lively at all. Snack Bandit is asking, how does the combat feel? I was actually quite surprised by that. Again, like I said, I played it like 3 times. And it's actually kind of cool how much it has been improved. I think the regular combat feels great. Parrying feels way better than, for example, the first time I played it at TwitchCon. So during this 6-hour preview, felt really good to parry and taking out enemies. So that's always cool, to be able to play the game multiple times throughout its development cycle to really see the improvements. And obviously in the final months they're polishing a lot. So I would say the combat feels amazing. Omegas, is the combat Souls-like? No, not at all. So obviously there will be challenging boss fights, but one big difference from a Souls-like is that you can stack up on infinite food items. So you can come in prepared. There's one way to revive yourself during a battle. I got like multiple of these items by just playing the main story early on. So that really helped me against that driller boss that I fought. There are no bonfires or something, so no, it's not a Souls-like at all. And there you will be fighting mostly multiple enemies. One interesting thing though that I saw some people ask is, can you like headshot someone with a bow? But that's not the case. Like in that sense, it's once again really RPG, really MMO-y. You shoot and that deals damage, and I think hitting the head doesn't really do a lot. So yeah. It's just about like hitting the enemy multiple times with the bow before they drop. Will the controls be customizable on console? And as someone asked say as well, I don't want to like jump with square, but that is sadly not possible. So there is a way to remap controls on PC, because the keyboard, like with the keyboard settings, you can do that. But on console, they're just doing one control mapping solution, and maybe later on they will try it. And they're really doing it because there's a lot of thought behind it. So a lot of moves, for example, wrestle moves have the same button combination for the different characters, or like it's really a muscle memory. You just have to understand how this game works. And I said it as well during a recent stream. This has to be your only game that you play when you start. If you like go play another game as well and then come back to Crimson Desert, I think you will be overwhelmed again. You really have to get that muscle memory right, focus on this game, learn all the different moves, because there are a ton of moves. I already got to try a lot of the skills. They all have different button combinations, so you have to like basically learn them. You don't want to go into the skill menu every time to see, how do I do this move again? So I think this is gonna be a really fun game to get lost in, but the moment you have to drop it for a week or something and then come back, you will feel overwhelmed. And yeah, again, at launch at least, there's no way to remap controls to however you want. On the controller, on PC, it is possible. We got quite some questions about the story and narrative. How is the writing? Did you enjoy the story and voice lines? Not really, like it's very slow at first. So there is an option to skip, or like, not skip, but you can like speed things up. And especially during like, at one point I had to help some villagers and some townfolk, and it was kind of slow. So I did use that feature to be like, of course, I also had only 6 hours, so I wanted to show, record as many things as possible. But no, I really hope the story gets better over the course of the game, because the voice lines are kind of simple. Cliff, your main character, also is not really impressed by a lot of the magical things that are happening, so maybe there's like a lore reason or like a story reason for that. But right now, I'm not really feeling it that much. So I really hope the story gets better over the course of the game. Right now, it's just really cool to experience this world for the first time. But I had more fun exploring the open world and doing things on my own accord than doing the main story missions, basically. Goofball's asking, does it feel like a checklist open world? I mean, so far, not really, because you don't really see a lot on the map. So you can, like, there are small question marks and you can check that out, but you're really just exploring and then figuring out if there is something even there. And I think, like, looking back on my 6 hours, what I really liked is that every hour was different. 1 hour I was focused on doing the bounties. 1 hour I was focused on the combat and unlocking the skills and fighting the boss. The other hour I was focused on the puzzles and the main story. So no, I don't think it's your typical checklist. I don't think you can be like, okay, I'm now only going to focus on this. And no, that's just not possible because you don't know where everything is. You really have to explore and take the world as it comes, and I think that's pretty good. How does the storage and inventory work? So you start the game with very limited inventory, but then through playing the main story and like helping townfolk early in the game, you get like 3 extra inventory slots. So I do think it will be nice to early on focus on helping all these people, and you will also see in the journal and on the map if you get like an inventory expansion. So that is important. I don't know if there's a storage. Like, we do know there's of course a home base that you at one point reach. So maybe there will be a storage crate there. That would be nice though, because you're picking up a lot of stuff in this game. So having some sort of way to store things would be great. But I don't know if that's the case. So we have Layman Gaming, are puzzles mandatory? Ultra's asking, are there a lot of puzzles? Broman Show is asking, how hard are the puzzles? And like, again, I've only played, I think, 2 hours of the main story, and the rest of the time I was just like exploring the open world. And during those main story missions, I already encountered 2 puzzles that, like, are, if you are used to the Sony games where, or even the Ubisoft games, where the puzzles are kind of easy, and even if you struggle, there will be certain hints, like it will be very clear what you have to do after some time, then these puzzles are kind of, okay, we're going back in time here. They don't hold your hand. And I really think that it depends on the type of player you are. If you don't like the fact that modern games hold your hand a lot, then Crimson Desert will actually be a breath of fresh air. I'm always for options. Like, I would have loved if there was an option in the menu where it was like, give me a hint if I am stuck at a puzzle for 5 minutes, something like that. But that's not in the game, so you really have to figure things out, or constantly have a YouTube browser next to your game to, if you're stuck, to kind of find the solution. But basically, there were 2 puzzles, and especially that second one, I was kind of like, what do I need to do? But I also missed like a certain tip that would have really helped me, and sometimes it did not feel very logical to me. Like, it was just trial and error and kind of see how it works. And I also think, as someone who plays open world games a lot, like, I know that there will be people who will explore the world and then after 10 hours, 20 hours, come back to the main story, to a puzzle, and are then going to be like, ooh, okay, I totally forgot the abilities that I have. I'm really kind of lost here. What do I need to do? So yeah, it does seem that there are mandatory puzzles. They were not super hard early in the game. Just like, you had to like switch your mindset. You really had to figure it out for yourself. I don't know if it will change throughout the game. But if the first 2 hours are any indication, it does mean that there will likely be more mandatory puzzles throughout the whole game. But I will, of course, have my full review up on March 18th. And I will certainly tell you, because I know some people, yeah, that will probably stop some people from enjoying the game if you're constantly banging your head against the wall in certain puzzles. So stay tuned. And yeah, I also saw a lot of questions, like the most questions were actually about console performance. And we still don't really have a concrete answer. We've not seen console footage yet. But if we see that, I will of course let you know. I did do an update on everything we know so far about the console performance. Check out that video by clicking on the screen. I'll show you some other things in that video. Of course, subscribe. I will have more Crimson Desert content here and on the main channel, where you can find my review and the spoiler-free tips and tricks. Of course, if you have more questions, you can always drop them, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.